From the combined newsrooms of KARK4 and Fox 16, breaking news coverage.
Good morning, everyone. We do have breaking news for you this morning. A mass shooting in downtown Little Rock. I'm Donna Terrell.
And I am Aaron Nolan. Right now, here's what we know. 17 people were shot at Power Ultra Lounge. This is in downtown Little Rock. It's one of those moments, Donna, when you wake up, you hear something like this. This is actually video from inside the club. Listen to the shots fired.
We are told there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30 shots that were fired inside of this club last night. This happened around 2:30 in the morning. We're going to start with team coverage. We have Price McKeon. She is live at the scene. Price, this situation is fluid still. What do we know right now?
What we know right now are the basics of what police are telling us right now. We know that 17 people were hit by gunfire, according to police. One of those people they originally said was in critical condition. They've updated that to stable condition. I'm going to get out of the way, though, so you can see what is going on exactly behind me. Crime scene investigators just cleared the scene a few minutes ago, clearing what evidence markers they had down here. You can see that there are windows busted out there.
Preliminary information has a group from Memphis that was performing at this location. Some sort of dispute broke out between individuals that were inside. An exchange of gunfire took place. We believe that the latest number has approximately 17 individuals that were injured as a result of the gunfire.
We do know that 17 people, according to police, 17 people were shot. Some people were hurt. Well, were shot. Some people were hurt because they were trampled trying to get out of the facility. Jonathan Roselle is at UAMS, where 9 victims were taken.
We do know that one victim, a woman, was in critical condition initially this morning. She, we're told by police, is doing better at this hour right now.
17 people shot at this club right here, Power Ultra Lounge, right in the heart of downtown Little Rock. You can see this is Broadway running this way, Interstate 30 here, the River Market in this location, Power Ultra Lounge right in the middle of it all. Here is the bird's eye view of that club. You can see, Donna, as you were just reporting, as we kind of zoom in, let's kind of walk through what we were seeing here. You can see the windows there, Donna. Those are the windows that were broken. If we can go down to street level, Alan. Here we go. All right, hold it right there for just a second. Okay, those windows to the top right corner of your screen are broken. What you're telling me is that we have had reporters who can say that people were jumping out of those windows, possibly hitting that red awning you see there to get to safety. People were shot overnight at a club in downtown Little Rock.
Some sort of dispute broke out between individuals that were inside. An exchange of gunfire took place.
The shots just got fired and everybody just took off running.
No mother should have to go through this. They need to put the guns down, stop the violence.
When does this gun violence in Little Rock, when does it end?
I could have possibly had to try to sit down and explain to my grandbaby why her mother wasn't coming home. You know, this is unreal.
We've got to get a handle on this. It's got to be done.
We can't let this define who we are.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us both on KARK4 and Fox 16. I'm Kevin Kelly.
And I'm Victoria Price. A very, very big story we're following here. That shooting happening at the Power Ultra Lounge on West 6th Street just before 2:30 this morning. Take a look at this map right here. As you can see, the club is right in the heart of downtown Little Rock.
Yeah, here's what we know at this hour. At least 25 people were shot, 3 others injured while leaving the scene. It happened during a performance by a group from Memphis called Finesse 2 Times.
Now, miraculously, not a single casualty from this, despite how many people who were shot. All the victims here were sent to several hospitals in Little Rock, North Little Rock, and Conway.
Yeah, and according to police, the youngest of those victims, just 16 years old. And so far, no one has been arrested. Little Rock police, along with the mayor, just wrapped up a news conference at City Hall. Our very own Mitch McCoy was there. He joins us live with the latest. Mitch.
Yeah, Kevin and Victoria, good evening to both of you guys. About a minute up the road is City Hall, and that is where this news conference took place. But I want to show you guys exactly what's happening here at this nightclub at 6th and Louisiana. We're about, 15 hours after that first gunshot started being fired, and it is still a very chaotic scene. You have crime scene units here right now. You have broken glass, which we're told by the mayor and the police chief somebody jumped out of.
Kevin, now her family tells me that she is actually one of the 2 people in critical condition tonight. They say that she was shot in her shoulder and she could possibly lose her arm. And her family tells me that she was just an innocent bystander at the concert last night. They also say, and they want to send a message, that the violence has to stop here in Central Arkansas.
The only thing you hear is your child name and gunshots. And I still can't believe it.
Renee Dominic says her 19-year-old daughter, Dejana Mixon, still on a ventilator in the hospital.
And I don't wish this on nobody, no mother.
She was shot at the Power Ultra Lounge shooting early Saturday morning.
Some friends knocked on my door at 3-something this morning.
She was able to talk with her today. Charmaine, she's in studio. What can you tell us?
Exactly, Stephanie. Nakia Baker says seeing her daughter covered in blood is the worst moment of her life. But worse than that, having to tell her granddaughter that her mother had been shot.
But she decided she wanted to go to this concert. And all that could have changed in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, so far Herman Lewis hasn't answered phone calls or responded to requests for comment about the shooting at his club, aside from hanging up on Jonathan Roselle. But we have learned that there appear to be court cases for debts owed against Herman Lewis in the past month, and it appears there may be other issues like taxes owed as well. Alcoholic beverage control officials say there have been 7 violations cited against the Power Ultra Lounge since 2012, including multiple violations for underage drinking. ABC has suspended the lounge's mixed drink license with at least 3 potential violations at play at this point. Lewis will have the chance to appear at an ABC hearing on July 10th. Those potential violations against the club at this point include allowing possession of weapons on the premises, disorderly conduct, and failure to be a good neighbor. City officials say they intend to try and shut down the Power Ultra Lounge location.
The state plans to execute 7 inmates in 11 days. It's been a 25-year nightmare for the victims. It's time for that justice to be carried out.
The state's effort to execute a number of death row inmates hits a major legal snag.
The first 2 of the unprecedented executions have been blocked by the Arkansas Supreme Court.
What about their victims?
It's a roller coaster ride. They need to set something and leave it.
And up to the minute, we are monitoring breaking news as the state of Arkansas and the entire country wait to see if Arkansas will carry out a lethal injection tonight for the first time in 12 years. Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight at 10 o'clock, everyone. I'm Bob Clausen.
And I'm Ashley Katz, live at the Cummins unit tonight, where here we are in the 10 o'clock hour. A lot has progressed, yet we are still in a holding pattern.
Supreme Court of the United States maintains Davis's stay. It maintains
means
Davis's
no execution right now.
No execution
as of April 17th.
Yeah.
In the past hour, the Arkansas Supreme Court paving the way for one of tonight's executions. Liddell Lee's execution is set to happen in about 2 hours.
We've got team coverage for you tonight, trying to bring all of this together. We are live with insight from Marcy Manley in Little Rock. We are live here on Cummins Prison with the very latest on what we'll be developing throughout the evening. We are also live in Washington, D.C. Drew Petchmo keeping an eye on the United States Supreme Court and anything that should happen up there.
And good evening, everyone. This just into Fox 16 and KARK. Breaking news. The Supreme Court of the United States has just issued a statement saying it has denied all of condemned inmates Liddell Lee's motions for executions. Simply put, Liddell Lee will be executed tonight.
That was about 30 minutes ago or so, so I would assume just about any minute.
And guys,
we should be hearing something.
Curious.
It's official. It's official. Liddell Lee just became Arkansas's first lethal injection in more than a decade. That is the tweet from Jesse Tenure. It has happened. It is done. It is final.
Time of death, 11:56.
It's over.
Before midnight.
So Liddell Lee is has died from lethal injection tonight.
Now, covering every county, This is your statewide newscast. Arkansas Today in high definition.
I'm so sorry. I wish I could take it back, but I can't.
He didn't want it straightened out. He wanted the life he had.
Good Monday afternoon. I am Aaron Nolan. The state is moving forward with plans to execute these two death row inmates. Jack Jones and Marcel Williams are scheduled to die by lethal injection beginning at 7 o'clock tonight. We do have team coverage this afternoon. Drew Petromo is live in Washington, D.C., where the U.S. Supreme Court could decide a case which could impact future executions. Victoria Price is at the Cummins unit in Lincoln County. But first, let's go to Marcy Manley, who's been following the legal issues of all of these executions. Marcy, we started Monday. Things are continuing to develop. In fact, just moments ago, there has actually been a ruling on the case of Jack Jones.
Yeah, one of the several rulings, rather, just like in those previous cases there. And there are currently cases pending in state and federal courts regarding Williams and Jones. The 8th Circuit just handing down this decision denying his stay of execution. We're tracking a total of 9 cases at this point.
Donna, it's official. Jack Jones, a condemned inmate who's been on death row for more than 20 years, has been executed. This according to Jesse Tenor, who just sent out a tweet. Bob and Donna, as you can see here, Jesse Tenor has finally made her way out after witnessing, one of the executions. Marcel Williams. First of all, how are you doing?
Honestly, fine. I mean, it was very methodical. It was, as far as we could tell, you know, the inmate wasn't having any sort of trouble throughout it, any sort of problems. And so for all of us, I mean, it was, once it did happen, once it started, it was honestly, you know, like I keep saying, we just kept doing our role, and it was not horrible to watch, to be there.
And tonight at 10, we are following the latest breaking developments as we await word on the final of 4 scheduled executions in Arkansas. Right now, we're in limbo as we wait for a decision from the United States Supreme Court.
Stephanie Sharp joining us now. You spent a lot of time with some folks, and to say that this has been emotionally raw for a lot of them is an understatement. A lot of them taking a very unique approach to dealing with this and also helping others deal with it.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Bob. And of course, as we wait for all these legal challenges, we have to look back on what put Kenneth Williams on death row in the first place. And it's been nearly 2 decades since he was convicted of killing a college cheerleader. Dominique Nikki Hurd was just 19 years old, and she was a student at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff when she was killed. Her mom, Vicki Williams, remembers her only biological daughter as someone who was full of life. Nikki was studying to be a doctor at the University of Pine Bluff when she and a friend were kidnapped, robbed, and shot by Kenneth Williams. Her mother says she forgives Williams, but says she wonders if other tragedies could have been avoided if Kenneth Williams had been sentenced to death in the first place for killing her daughter.
Kind of felt like if they would have given him that at first, maybe could have saved some more lives.
Nikki's family is not here tonight, and they say they are ready to move forward also while remembering their daughter. Looking at another victim, not everyone wants to see Kenneth Williams put to death. The last person killed by Williams was Michael Greenwood, who died in a car crash Williams caused while fleeing from police in Missouri. Greenwood's daughter, Kayla, is now close friends with Williams' daughter, Jasmine, and just yesterday helped her and her daughter see Williams one last time. And here's what they had to say about the situation.
For me, I just put myself in her shoes, and it just feels like I would be able to see my dad, and I would be able to see my dad meet my children.
He said tomorrow, like, no matter what happens, he will at least be more at peace now, knowing that he was able to see me and my daughter, and as well as everything the Greenwood family has done for him.
I think we've got...
Yeah, just breaking news right now. Kenneth Williams has been executed.
Time of death, 11:05.
Just 4 minutes ago.
So Kenneth Williams now the 4th person to be put to death in the state of Arkansas in the last 7 days.
Mitch just put out a tweet saying that you thought that something might have gone wrong. What were you seeing that led you to believe that?
Well, there was a lot of heavy chest pumping, a lot of heavy breathing, even after they turned off the microphones.
Obviously, it must have been great memories because she smiled and she laughed and just came to life when we visited her, especially my kids.
Memories of Hillary Rudkin's mother are bittersweet now.
Granted, she was sick and sometimes couldn't remember my name, but then other days to where we could tell we made her whole day.
Clara Hoyt died in March at 68 years old. She had been diagnosed with dementia and had suffered a heart attack and stroke in the years before. Hillary was told her death was from natural causes triggered by distress.
Wiggled her way and panicked and basically scared herself to death, gave herself a heart attack.
When Hillary saw her mother an hour after getting the call, she says Clara was back in bed, a sheet wrapped around her neck.
And they told me that was because for when rigor mortis sets in, they don't want your mouth to fall open.
The Pulaski County Coroner's Office bypassed an autopsy after police reported no signs of criminal or suspicious activity. But Hillary would get a call a day later from a whistleblower telling her Clara's death at Pleasant Valley Nursing and Rehabilitation could have been prevented. Hillary said the deceit went deeper when she confronted the nursing home administrator.
Basically, my mother, she got on her knees, and my mother's head, she said, was just kind of laying on the mattress.
The results of a private autopsy, though, proved Clara Hoyt suffocated. The result of her head being trapped between the mattress and the bed rail, cutting off airflow.
They're supposed to do their job. They take all of her money, and it's up to them to provide her the best care. They didn't do that, and as a result, I no longer have my mother. My kids no longer have their grandmother.
Nurses to be truthful.
According to the coroner's office, the nursing home never reported the death as connected to suspected neglect or abuse.
We really rely on the nurses that's reporting the death to one of my deputies to be truthful. If a police come to the scene of a nursing home, then normally the police agency will call us. But it still falls back on that nursing home to report the death.
The coroner's office, alerted to the private autopsy results, opened up its own investigation. 3 different employees gave 3 different stories. The nursing home finally reported Clara's death to the Office of Long-Term Care nearly 2 weeks after her death, despite a rule requiring immediate notice.
That's what's scary about this case is they almost got away with it.
The investigation by DHS found conflicting accounts from staff. Some who claimed Clara Hoyt was never trapped, her head simply rested on the bed. Others who say they were shocked how her head and neck were between the rail and the mattress. Reenactment photos with staff during the coroner's investigation show what really happened.
The truth is that she was asphyxiated because of their neglect in creating the environment that caused her to choke.
The coroner determined between 3:30 and 5 a.m., Clara fell out of bed, her head wedged in the gap, and when she was finally found some 2 hours later, she didn't have a pulse and she was turning blue.
And to think how scared she was, what must have been going through her mind, being all by herself, that's hard for me.
They created the very thing that caused her death, and unfortunately we see that all the time in the nursing home industry.
The Office of Long-Term Care found none of the staff at Pleasant Valley had been trained on proper bed rail use before or after Clara's death, which investigators say put other residents in danger of the same suffocation risk during their investigation on April 12th.
They're kind of at the mercy of the nursing home, and I guess just have to pray that they get someone who is not there for a paycheck.
Hillary knew her mother's health would eventually go downhill and her memory would ultimately fail her. But she firmly believes her mother would have had more years of happy visits like this ahead.
There's no more talking to Mom, and to me, nobody replaces Mom. And she was taken from me too soon, so I'm very angry and very upset that she's not here anymore.
Dangerous winds and floods are being blamed for at least 7 deaths.
Arkansas families left to deal with the aftermath.
Governor Asa Hutchinson declaring a state of emergency.
Flooding so severe in northeast Arkansas, officials have had to call for mandatory evacuations.
People have about 10 more hours until they have to be out of here.
We was around here in 2011. We knew she had to get out.
The governor just wrapped up a press conference urging all those people that should have been out at 8 o'clock this morning to leave immediately.
Levee is probably going to breach any minute. 35 residents we know are at an emergency shelter at this hour.
Just the act of the gods, the perfect storm in the right situation.
Instead of cashing in on low prices, he's sizing up how much flood damage he could be facing at his Pocahontas office and storage units. This restaurant here dangerously close to the water, overtaking it totally and coming inside at this hour.
But officials with the city of Pocahontas tell me that a levee failure to our east this morning actually providing a little bit of flood relief.
And I'm told right here it's gone down about 3 feet from where it was before the levee breach. You can see the parking lot is pretty much entirely drained out, aside from a few puddles here and there.
Pocahontas gradually starting to pick up the pieces after that river did reach record levels. Cody Grice had several friends help him sandbag the perimeter of his house earlier this week.
We got back and, we're dry.
We had to pull up all the carpets. I've been through this once before, and the other time it held, but it didn't get hardly as high as it did this time.
Just as bad as I thought it was going to be.
So far, officials are estimating that from the flooding, about 50 homes were lost and 150 more were damaged.
This is pretty bad from what I've seen, especially for a small rural area. They need a lot of help here.
Live from Arkansas's breaking news leader, Fox 16 News at 5:30 starts now.
Today, Fox 16 is teaming up with the American Red Cross to help flood victims in northeast Arkansas. Your donation, no matter the amount, will help the people of Pocahontas rebuild after last week's historic flooding. To donate, call the number that you see there on the screen, 501-340-4922. Or you can always go to our website, fox16.com. Your generosity will help a community that desperately needs it right now. In addition to Pocahontas, your dollars will also help flood victims all over the state. Good evening, everyone. I'm Donna Terrell. I'm so glad you're with us tonight for this special edition of Fox 16 News at 5:30. We have team coverage of the flooding aftermath in northeast Arkansas. All of our crews are in Pocahontas tonight. Caitlin Reardon, Jonathan Roselle. But first, let's check with my co-anchor, Kevin Kelly. And Kevin, I know you've had a chance to get up close and personal with these neighborhoods and inside of homes to see exactly what's happening there.
Yeah, Donna, and you really don't get a complete picture of just how devastating these floods were for the people who live in this particular area until you're actually standing in this neighborhood. We're coming to you live from the corner of Vicky and Pace Street. This is in the Roble addition. The police chief who monitors this area referred to it earlier in the day as the war zone. Imagine as you look down this street, a wall of 3 to 4 feet of water just barreling down this street. That was the case several days ago. Obviously, the water has receded, but now we're in the cleanup mode as you see piles and piles of debris, personal belongings that now litter the front yardways. These are items that meant something to the homeowners, but are now ruined because of all that water. To give you a better idea of just how high the water came and just how devastating it is, I want to take you inside this house. The homeowner, kind enough to let me come in, he is not here, but take a look at this. I mean, we got construction crews ripping out drywall. You can see right here on this line, this is basically how high the water got. All the drywall had to be ripped out. These studs are now soaked and will have to dry. And then the contractor said it's going to take at least a week, not until next week, before he can actually start some of the necessary repairs by putting up new drywall. This is just one example of the damage done to more than 50 homes which were destroyed, another 100 that received serious damage. For another perspective, in a different location not too far away, I want to bring in Fox 16's Caitlin Reardon, who will give us an idea of just how bad the damage is where she is. Caitlin?
Well, Kevin, what we're dealing with where I am right now, which is off of 67 North, 166 is this highway, and we're dealing with the fact that there is still water here. We can't even get through these roads. Now, we have a truck coming across now. I'm going to get out of the way, but typically this road is closed to traffic.
We just got here about an hour and a half ago. As you can see, the rain is coming down, and just moments ago, the wind started really picking up where we're at right now. The civil support team from Arkansas came rolling in in here to the Houston area. People evacuated from their homes came out. They were taking pictures of the trucks, taking video of their trucks, and they were also just telling them thank you as they were walking in.
You can't prepare for something like this.
Kirby Prim's home is surrounded by water, something this Arkansan never thought he'd see.
It's overwhelming.
Steve Dyer also lives in Kingwood. He is a former missionary who worked with the church at Rock Creek in Little Rock. I'd just like to remind you guys, this is just one neighborhood in Houston. There are several more neighborhoods just like this. As you can see, we're on a boat, and this is typically a neighborhood. This is typically a road. Two former Arkansas students, Blake and Mick, did what they could. They grabbed their boat and launched from what was a road.
It's good. There's a lot of support from everyone around town, and
some families here in Houston haven't had power for days. That's why the Entergy Arkansas lineman crew came here to Texas.
We actually spoke with the lady on the way down here. She got very emotional about her family being trapped in a home.
The National Guard Black Hawk crew down here in the southeast Houston area. Two Arkansas National Guard Blackhawks are in southeast Texas, providing aid and relief in Houston.
Anything we can do to support the Texas National Guard and as well as Louisiana is a huge deal for us to be able to exercise that support.
So it's going to be a long time coming. FEMA said that it's going to last for several years, and a lot of folks here are just ready to get it over with, that's for sure.
Reporting in Beaumont, live in Kingwood. In Houston, I'm Stephanie Sharp.
It just took something out of my heart that will never be replaced.
How am I going to tell my 6-year-old little girl about this? I just didn't want to believe it.
We all need to get serious and come together, all communities, in order to get this stuff under control.
Help Arkansas
declare victory
over violence.
KARK is kicking off another challenge. Many of us see or witness a daily battle in Central Arkansas, a matchup to overcome violence. And we have a choice here. We can sit back and wonder how to change it, or we can do something about it. There are plenty of winners out there already doing their part to make where we live a better place, but we want to take it a step further, and we want to help you help your community.
We will not be given to violence. We will not be given to war.
So I know the struggles that these kids have been going through.
Tim says the need for mentors is ever growing and required to reduce the number of youth bouncing out of bounds and into violence.
I want a mentor because I want people to help me with my communication.
It teaches me a lot of stuff, like what to do right.
The way you can really help solve some of the problems that we deal with in our community is getting involved in people's lives.
What an impact you can make by signing up to be a mentor. 1 hour a week can make a huge difference in a child's life.
We've had over 100 people sign up for mentoring.
There's a huge need, and I wanted to do something more with it, so I thought about a job fair.
Around 700 job seekers showed up to the 6-hour event.
I was brought up in a home of pain. I was brought up in a home of violence.
It's the people around that give when they might not even have directly involved with the situation.
Community members and city leaders meet tonight brainstorming ideas on how to make neighborhoods safer.
Every seat in the room was taken. People gave these passionate pleas, we can't just be sitting in a room like this. We have to go to these communities, literally knock on doors, get people out of their homes.
And that's exactly why these folks are out here today. They realize that crime can't be ignored, and it's got to be something that's got to be pushed back, even if it's just one step at a time.
Let's go! I want to be a part of any group that's working toward ending it.
I want to see things change. I want to see it change for the better.
Victory!
All right.
Your
your job,
making America great again.
your money,
I'm excited about what we can continue to do.
your health care,
Now is the time for action.
your country.
Our world is a more dangerous place when America is not leading.
Decisions being made 1,000 miles away in Washington affect your everyday life. Tonight, you'll get the chance to make your voice heard with the people who represent you in our nation's capital.
From the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., this is a special production from your local election headquarters. Your Voice Arkansas, a congressional forum. Now to your host, Drew Petrimo.
Good evening and thanks for being with us. I'm Drew Petrimo. Tonight, we are looking at the big issues facing Arkansas and the country with all four of the state's U.S. representatives in Washington. This half hour, we're giving you the chance to let your voice be heard by your congressman. If you want to connect with us on social media, use the hashtag YourVoiceAR. We'll be tracking your tweets and Facebook posts throughout the next half hour. That will be the responsibility of our Jessie Tenura back in our studios in Little Rock. She'll be presenting your questions to your representatives this evening. Joining us, our 1st District Congressman Rick Crawford, representing Jonesboro, Batesville, and West Memphis. 2nd District Congressman French Hill, representing Little Rock, Conway, and Benton. 3rd District Congressman Steve Womack, representing Fayetteville, Bentonville, and Fort Smith. And 4th District Congressman Bruce Westerman, representing Hot Springs, Texarkana, and Pine Bluff. Gentlemen, welcome all of you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
7 months into the 115th Congress, I want to go around the room. Everybody take a minute. Grade yourselves. How do you think the body has performed so far? What accomplishments do you hang your hat on? And what are some of the failures, if you think there are any? Congressman Crawford?
Well, I think we're doing above average work. We have control of both chambers, control of the White House, and there was an awful lot to clean up.
We will not be given to
I want to do something nice to kind of help those kids.
It's like God had put it in my lap and said, here you go. We will not be
supposed to be responsible with what you've been given.
Huge sacrifice, and it's a huge commitment. But we will
Ladies and gentlemen, the distinguished citizen of the year, Jerry Jones.
Just as I crossed that Arkansas River, that tail on my plane kind of dipped down. Right at the end of the runway, it might have been 1,000 feet over the house I grew up in. Right as you landed at the field, there. I knew I was going to be here with you tonight. You great honorees, you champions. In a way, it's wonderful, wonderful to be on the team with you.
What a week in Canton, Ohio at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and what a night last night at the enshrinement ceremony. We thought Jerry Jones might get a little emotional, and he did.
Fearless Friday starts now. Brought to you by Baptist Health.
Hey guys, I'm Ben Creighton down in Saline County. A cold one tonight for a matchup of undefeateds in the 7A Central. Bryant taking on North Little Rock. Which team will come out on top and take the top spot in the conference? I'll have more in just a minute.
I'm Chelsea Chambers, and tonight in Alma, it's a good one. The Airedales are battling it out with the Greenbrier Panthers for the 5A West Conference lead. I'll have the highlights for you coming up.
The Pine Bluff Zebras are hosting the West Memphis Blue Devils. I'm Stephanie Sharp, and we'll have the highlights coming up on Fearless Friday.
I'm Tyler Thomason on a cold night with two red-hot teams, Lake Hamilton and Watson Chapel on Fearless Friday.
I'm Mitch Petrus here at Pulaski Academy again tonight, hosting McClellan. Hey, Wes, you got something on your shirt.
And I'm Mitch Lilly at Magnet Cove. The Panthers hosting Conway Christian tonight. I'll have those highlights. Fearless Friday starts right now.
What's he talking about? I don't have anything on my shirt. Petrus, man, that guy. Football weather is here just in time for the playoff run. Good evening, everybody. I'm Wes Moore. It's a big night for Fearless Friday.
Any nerves on the first day? No.
Good to go, brother.
ready to roll. You know, I mean, it's a game, and we do our work during the week. It's a game night. It's time for the kids to do their thing.
It was finally game day. The Patriots prepared for the long road trip ahead to Star City to kick off not only a new season, but also a new era.
It's exciting. Just the whole school is on you now. They're like, okay, show me something. New coach, new players, show me something. So we have to. It's not nerve-wracking. It's more exciting. You're like, okay, we have something to prove because people don't really believe in you when the team was 1-9 before. I just woke up with like a real focused state of mind. Like I have something to prove today.
Of course, for a 70-minute bus ride, coaches and players alike have their ways of mentally preparing for the battle facing them.
Whenever I can read, then that's a good thing. If I can't read, that means there's talking or too much talking.
Really don't talk to anybody, you know, just listen to music, poetry, stories, you know, just different things like that. You know, get your mind right before the game.
Inside this little white building, a worker takes embers from a fireplace and puts them into a barbecue pit to smoke the meat.
Don't barbecue down.
It's early in the morning, but James Harold Jones has already started selling his popular pulled pork barbecue. And this is what, lunch?
Breakfast.
Jones opened his business in this location in 1964, but its history is much older than that. It's believed to be the oldest black-owned restaurant in the South.
It's been in the family over 150 years. My granddad's uncle once started.
He used the same secret barbecue sauce then used today.
What's the secret to this recipe of yours?
What I put in it?
And Jones's father put the same thing in it.
I started helping when I was 14 years old, now I'm 71. So I've been in it for a little while.
A family tradition that doesn't care how much money you make.
How are you, James? About 10 pounds.
Or what color you are. The only color that matters here, reddish orange.
I've been here since about 74. It's a special trip every year to come here and see my friend.
Mayor Jimmy Williams remembers Mariana when farming and the factory where he worked for 40 years thrived. It brought in big-name executives.
And when they'd come in on company plane before they leave, they'd say, well, let's run down Jones's and get some barbecue.
But the taste draws people from all walks of life.
Do you ever get tired of running?
No. Only thing I get tired of doing is interviews.
He gets a lot of attention these days after winning the prestigious James Beard Award for his American Classic. It's the so-called Oscars of culinary work. He's the only person in the state to ever win it. It now hangs a little lopsided above the window that peers into his kitchen. But it didn't take a national award to prove his pulled pork sandwiches on Wonder Bread with a little coleslaw are good.
It's like no other barbecue you ever eat.
This guy told us he's been eating here for 53 years.
Hey, it's so good it damn near make you run a red light.
Ironically, in a town where most black people live in poverty, Jones's Barbecue pumps money into the economy and brings visitors to the heart of the Arkansas Delta who might not otherwise come here.
$4, $7. So you get two of them.
But you better get here early.
You don't have any more?
I won't have no more until after 1 o'clock.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. See, that's the way it happens, like that. See, I never know from one day to the next day, how big a crowd I'm gonna have. When it's out, it's just out.
Until tomorrow, when the fire's burning and the meat is smoking, as it has for the last 150 years. In Mariana, Arkansas, I'm Donna Terrell.
From Arkansas's breaking news leader, Fox 16 News at 5:30 starts now.
An action-packed evening unfolding throughout central Arkansas. We are following breaking news on several fronts all across the state. Multiple shooting investigations in Little Rock. An active search for 2 missing western Arkansas children whose mother was found dead. And
the last of 4 scheduled executions, which is set to happen about 90 minutes from now. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I'm Kevin Kelly. We have live reports on all these stories across the area. We begin with a pair of shooting investigations in Little Rock. One at 23rd and Marshall, the other at an in-home daycare on Park Lane where one person was killed. We have crews at both scenes. We begin with Fox 16's Josh Berry at that daycare on Park Lane. Josh, quite an afternoon there, no doubt.
And it has been, Kevin, and it's of the shootings that we have reported on here in Little Rock, this is probably one of the most emotional because we were here as parents were pulling up and walking up just on this side of the crime tape, trying to find their children as police were walking the children out of that home right there where we're told this all happened. And it was a drive-by that the daycare, we're told, was not the intended target. Officers tell me that shell casings were scattered around the street and in a home a couple of houses down that we're told that this drive-by targeted. Right now you can see that there are crime scene investigators in the street still working and standing around some of the evidence markers they laid down, upwards of 24. The shots were fired around 2:50 and say a silver car was seen speeding away. Once police had the scene blocked off, we watched as emergency crews took the victim away, actively trying to keep her alive. A short time later, we were notified that the caregiver, a 57-year-old woman who we're told is Shirley Jackson, that police just released that name to me just a few minutes ago. We're told that the next of kin has been identified. While we were here, police were still escorting young children from the home. We're told that there were 9 in total at the home when this happened, but that none of them were hurt. Parents got here frantically hoping to embrace their children, but we were also here when they found out the caregiver had passed away.
Just praying for her and her family.
What do you mean to hold your son right now?
Man, everything to me, man.
I was there when they gave him to you, and you got emotional. I'm a 3-year-old, so I understand.
My son's my whole life, man. She died? Oh my God, no, man.
A very real scene unfolding while we were here this afternoon. We have been told that a second person was shot as a result of this drive-by, but that person, we're told, should be okay. Again, very limited suspect information released to us. All we've been told, and as of a few minutes ago, was that a silver car was seen speeding away from this scene. Now, virtually at the same time, just a bit away at the corner of 24th and Marshall, there was a second shooting that happened here in Little Rock that police are investigating. Fox 16's Caitlin Reardon is live there now with the latest. Caitlin, what can you tell us?
Well, Josh, yes, that's right. 24th and Marshall, you can see it's still police taped off. Investigators still on the scene canvassing. Now, they have picked up several of the markers they had out with all the shell casings. What we know right now is it happened around 2:30. Police say it was a drive-by shooting, but the suspect vehicle different than the one over there. This one was a minivan, started shooting at one of the houses in the area here. We know there was one victim, a 21-year-old man, was hit in the back or the shoulder. He did go to the hospital with injuries that were not life-threatening. Now, multiple guns used in this one, different calibers. We're not sure yet at this point if those shootings are connected, the one on Park and this one. And of course, we're not sure if it's random, but the person shot does not live at the house, we're told by police. Now, so far, we know they've made no arrests, and they are asking people in the area, if you have any information, give them a call. They need help trying to catch the people involved in these drive-by shootings. Reporting in Little Rock at 24th and Marshall, I'm Caitlin Reardon, Fox 16 News.
All right, Caitlin, thank you very much. Obviously, a very difficult situation unfolding with both of those stories. We'll be following that very closely. We're also following another developing story. You're looking at it right now. In about a half an hour, the state's 4th lethal injection in the span of a week is expected to get underway. We have team coverage of tonight's planned execution of Kenneth Williams. Fox 16's Jesse Tenor joining me live at the Cummins unit where it will all take place in Lincoln County. Jesse.
Hey, Kevin, as ADC staff continues to prepare for Kenneth Williams' scheduled execution tonight at 7 p.m., he is in a holding cell just right down the hallway from the death chamber, maybe thinking a little bit about why he's there to begin with. 17 years ago, Williams was put on death row for the killing of Cecil Boren. Williams escaped from prison from the Cummins unit in 1999 and just traveled about 4 miles down to Boren's family farm, where he shot him multiple times. And now we are able to, all of these years later, I was able to go to his clemency hearing, Williams' clemency hearing back in March, and he was saying that during these 18 years that the family has gone without a loved one, that he is not the same person as the one who pulled that trigger. He now calls himself Minister Kenneth Williams. He actually runs a Facebook page of that name where he's been posting a lot of updates up to this very moment. He did even go into his last words, and he was saying that he imagines during that time, right before his lethal injection, he would again apologize to his victims' families, and he would also continue to speak to God. He said that he would speak in a biblical tongue of sorts, and so we'll be able to bring you more information on that later tonight. But I want to pitch out to Marcy Manley back in Little Rock. Marcy, you've been following all of the legal developments since all of these executions started. It doesn't look like right now that there's any major legal hurdles standing in the way of Williams' execution, but what do you know right now?
Well, what we do know right now is that the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals has cleared 3 legal challenges, and that Kenneth Williams has had every motion and request for stay of execution denied. Now everything has to head for a higher court, but we also can't rule out additional filings. Yesterday, the Arkansas Supreme Court denied 2 of his requests for a stay of execution. The court also denied another 2 for an emergency stay today. The federal 8th Circuit Court of Appeals dismissed all 3 stay requests within the past hour. In these filings, he's alleged intellectual disability, physical impairments that could cause problems with the drug protocols such as sickle cell, and juror misconduct in his death penalty criminal trial. Elsewhere, Fox 16's Drew Petrimo following the activity on the case in Washington, D.C. Drew, in the past 3 days of executions, the Supreme Court has declined to intervene.
Yeah, that's right. And in this case, he has filed a motion for stay with the United States Supreme Court. But as you said, we've seen this before. In the last 3 executions, the Supreme Court has basically gone along with what lower courts have said. In the first 2 executions that were stayed, the Arkansas Supreme Court had issued that stay. The United States Supreme Court declined to reverse it. In the ones that followed, there was no stay in place, and the Supreme Court declined to put one in place. So that seems to be the trajectory that they've been going, and if that holds true, the execution tonight will go forward. But of course, that is something we have to wait and see what happens. Important to note here is that there needs to be 5 justices to vote in favor of a stay for there to be one issue. There only needs to be 4 that would decide to take up a case. So there could be a case, and we've seen this before, where there is some inclination that the court would like to take a further look at an issue, but because they don't have those 5 votes in place, the execution still can go forward. That's the latest here in Washington. I'm Drew Petrimo. Let's go back to Jesse.
Drew, thanks. And as we await those legal challenges, we want to take another look back at some more of Williams' victims, what landed him here in the first place. It's almost been 2 decades since he murdered a UAPB cheerleader, Nikki Hurd. We were able to talk to her mom, and Nikki Hurd was just 19 years old, a student at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff when she was murdered. And her mom, Vicki Williams, remembers her only biological daughter as someone who was just full of life. Nikki was studying to be a doctor at the university when she and a friend were kidnapped, robbed, and shot by Williams. Her mother says she does forgive Williams, but she wonders if other tragedies could have been avoided if Williams had been sentenced to death in the first place for killing her daughter.
Kind of felt like if they would have given him that at first, maybe could have saved some more lives.
While Nikki's family does not plan to be here at Cummins tonight for Williams' execution, Boren's wife does. She says that she wants the closest she can to a front seat to watch her family finally get justice after 18 years. Kevin, we'll take it back to you.
All right, Jesse, thank you very much. Of course, we'll continue to monitor that. Our coverage continues, especially as we follow these legal battles that still exist. Be sure to join us on our Fox 16 Facebook page starting at 6:30 for live reports from the Cummins unit and in Little Rock. We'll have that for you, plus the latest information tonight on Fox 16 News at 9 on our website and, of course, on fox16.com. We are following more breaking news tonight. We'll bring you the latest from western Arkansas, where 2 children are missing and their mother has been found dead. What investigators know after this.
You're watching Fox 16 News at 5:30, covering Benton, Cabot, Little Rock, and all of Central Arkansas.
We are following other breaking news. This one coming out of western Arkansas. A body found in Polk County, and reports of 2 kids missing prompted the sheriff's office to begin a homicide investigation. 10-year-old Riley Scarborough and 2-year-old Aislinn Wester were reported missing on Wednesday. Their mother's body was found on Tuesday and positively identified today. Fox 16's Jonathan Rizal in Polk County today. He joins us on the phone with more on this investigation. Jonathan, what have you been able to find out?
Having a lot going on here. Authorities say 43-year-old Bethany Wester was discovered dead in Buffalo Creek, an area just outside of Cove. Now, investigators say she is the mother of missing 10-year-old Riley Scarborough and 2-year-old Aislinn Wester. Both have not been seen or heard from since Saturday. The sheriff says several agencies are involved in helping search for the missing kids to help bring them back home and to concerned loved ones.
Imagine what they're going through. That's why we're working so hard, because I have children. Mr. Morris has children. All of my guys have children. All of his guys have children. This is a parent's worst nightmare, a grandparent's worst nightmare, an aunt and uncle's worst nightmare.
And authorities are not saying whether they have developed a suspect in the mother's death or the whereabouts of her kids. They ask anyone who knows anything about either incident to contact authorities. And also developing late this afternoon, Polk County Sheriff deputies say a man was found dead inside a home earlier today. Now, authorities were called to the house located just outside the Queen off Highway 71 around 1 p.m. Now, deputies say they are investigating the death as a homicide, but would not go into details. They're not saying if this death is related to that of Bethany Wester, who again was found dead in a creek near Cove, or her 2 missing children. We'll bring you more as these investigations develop. We're now live in Mena. Jonathan Roselle, Fox 16 News.
All right, Jonathan, thanks for the update. We'll bring you the latest on this investigation at 9. You can also find any up-to-the-minute developments on our website, fox16.com. Turning now to a breaking news update, we're learning more about a deadly shooting at a Little Rock apartment complex from last night. 2 people were shot at Midtown Park Apartments at around 5 Wednesday afternoon. Investigators have identified the person killed as a 17-year-old. Now, another 17-year-old was shot, but that person survived. Their names are not being released because they're juveniles, and police tell us that an 18-year-old who lives in that building says he exchanged gunfire with the 2 after they tried to rob him. He's been released without charges. Police are not looking for any other suspects.
Now, weather to plan your day with Fox 16 Chief Meteorologist Jeff Baskin.
A very busy forecast ahead as we go into the weekend. We're talking about a heavy rain threat and also the threat for some strong to severe storms, but at least nothing to worry about for tonight. Really, the active weather begins tomorrow night, mainly after dark, going all the way through Sunday. We're talking about the threat for some heavy rain, possibly even some flooding in some spots, as well as the potential for some strong storms. Now, this evening, if you're heading out the door, nothing to worry about. Actually, kind of pleasant out there. Mid-60s by 8 o'clock, down to the 50s by later on tonight. Not as chilly as it was last night. Now, because of the potential for some heavy rainfall over the weekend, a flash flood watch is in effect beginning tomorrow evening, going into Sunday for central and northern Arkansas. We're talking about enough rain that we're talking about small stream flooding, some road flooding possible in some spots, and it looks like the most serious potential for flooding across parts of northwest and north central Arkansas. Satellite and radar, mainly dry conditions right now across the state. The system that brought the storms yesterday moved well to our east, and now another storm system coming out of the Rockies beginning to move into the plains with some showers already breaking out across the high plains states. Mainly dry, mild air across much of the southeast right now, but we have a front near the Gulf Coast, and as this system approaches, that front's going to return northward and bring some very moist Gulf air, and that's going to set the stage for that heavy rainfall with that slow moving front. Right now, temperatures across the state mainly in the 60s. 68 around Clinton, 68 in Batesville, 68 in Little Rock, and low 70s farther south. Right now, our Magic Springs camera and Hot Springs showing mostly blue skies out there. Looks pretty nice. Same in Little Rock, blue sky, 68 degrees. Winds out of the southeast at 7 miles per hour. I wish I could tell you it was going to look like that this weekend, but it's not. Taking a look at our forecast satellite and radar, going through the overnight hours into tomorrow morning, clear to partly cloudy skies, increasing clouds as we go into the daytime hours as our warm front lifts on northward, bringing that warm, humid air back to the north. Showers and some thunderstorms begin to develop along that front, especially as we go towards the late evening hours across central Arkansas and moving into northern Arkansas as we get towards the overnight hours, with showers and thunderstorms continuing as we go into Friday night, Saturday morning north, and an increasing risk of storms Saturday, especially Saturday evening and Saturday night as a strong storm system moves on through, with the storms pushing east for Sunday. Main severe threat for tomorrow night, mainly along and north of I-40. Large hail, the main threat here, and isolated tornado risk as well. And as we go into Saturday, as our strong storm system moves on through with our cold front, again, some strong to severe thunderstorms likely, including much of central Arkansas. So pay close attention to the weather as we head into this weekend. So for tomorrow, mostly clear, not as cool for the morning hours. Most of the daytime tomorrow is going to be just fine. Be a little bit warmer out there despite more cloud cover. Temperatures in the upper 70s. Storms begin to develop mainly after sunset for tomorrow across central and northern Arkansas. Heavy rain and storms on Saturday. Rain most likely on Sunday. Breezy and turning cooler, only in the 60s for highs on Sunday. Clearing out for early next week. Another shot of showers for the middle of next week. Kevin?
All right, Jeff, thank you very much. Tonight, the Memphis Grizzlies will look to force a decisive Game 7 in their first-round playoff series against the San Antonio Spurs. Our Ben Creighton live in the River City with a preview of tonight's game. Lucky him. Next in Sudden Death Sports.
Fox 16 Sudden Death Sports with Sportscaster of the Year, Wes Moore.
A do-or-die situation tonight in Memphis as the Grizzlies look to take down the Spurs in Game 6. Fox 16's Ben Creighton is live outside the FedEx Forum with a preview. Ben, tonight the Grizzlies got to win. It's, win or go home. Yeah, Wes, the Grizzlies on the brink of elimination tonight, trailing 3-2 heading into Game 6. Now, when we talk about, teams playing in big playoff games like this, what do we always hear? Teams treating every single playoff game like a normal game. However, that's not the case to head coach David Fizdale, who has been in this situation before when he was assistant at Miami. A perfect example is the 2013 NBA Finals when the Heat trailed, coincidentally, the San Antonio Spurs 3-2. The Heat went on to win the NBA title. Now, as a first-year head coach, he and his players know exactly what is at stake tonight. A loss means the end of their season, and he says the team has to play with some desperation and has to think ahead to Game 7.
I think once you get here, the urgency to win every single game is completely heightened. And, my message to them is we got to get to Game 7. Nothing better in sports than Game 7. And so that's a privilege to get to there, and you have to earn that. And so we're here at home, and we're going to give ourselves a chance. They're trying to put us out of our misery. If you don't know anything about them, they're killers. So we understand that, but we also have to come out with a mentality to impose our will on the game.
And what's a big key for tonight's Game 6 will be bench production. The Spurs outscored the Grizzlies bench 46-30 back in their Game 5 win. So the Grizzlies are definitely going to have to pick it up from their supporting cast. They can't rely on just Mike Conley and Marc Gasol if they want to survive another couple days. And also making a little bit of an Arkansas connection, the media will be allowed into the locker room in a little over an hour from now. Hopefully I'll be able to talk to Mike Conley, give his thoughts on the Mike Conley Jr. Classic and just being an impact player and being a star, of course, for the Fayetteville product. But for now, live outside the FedEx Forum here in Memphis, Tennessee, Ben Creighton, Fox 16 Sports. A lot of folks rooting for Mike Conley and the Grizz. Thanks a lot, Ben. We'll see you tonight. Also coming up tonight at 9, we'll check on Game 1 of the Arkansas Ole Miss series at Baum Stadium. We'll see you at 9.
This weekend.
We continue to follow breaking news on several fronts across central Arkansas at this hour. In Little Rock, one person is dead following a drive-by shooting on Park Lane. The victim, a 57-year-old caretaker at an in-home daycare. Police do not believe that victim was the shooter's intended target. At this hour, investigators are still looking for the gunman in that case. In Polk County, investigators say the mother of 2 missing children has been found dead, and they believe she was murdered. 10-year-old Riley Scarborough and 2-year-old Aislinn Wester were reported missing on Wednesday. Their mother's body found on Tuesday and positively identified today. And of course, in Lincoln County, we're about an hour away from the scheduled execution of Kenneth Williams, a convicted murderer who's sat on death row for the last 17 years. We'll continue to follow it. Be sure to join us on Facebook Live beginning at 6:30.